One of the first questions that I asked myself after I discovered that my ex-husband had been cheating on me was, why wasn't I enough? I thought about how much I loved him and all of the ways that I had shown him my love and my devotion. I thought about all of the sacrifices that I had made for him over the years, and I wondered why that wasn't enough to hold him to me. And then once I learned who the affair partner was, I looked at her and I wondered, what does she have that I don't? And that's a common theme for so many of us after we've been cheated on. We want to know, why wasn't I enough for you to remain faithful? Why wasn't I enough for you to love? Why wasn't I enough for you to be honest with me? And the reality is that's one of those questions that is going to be echoing through your mind for quite a long time. And there's nothing that I can say that's going to give you the answers that you want for that question. But what I'm going to give you today are 5 questions to ask yourself instead of why wasn't I enough? The first, and perhaps one of the most important, is this: why am I allowing their opinion of me to become my truth? Through their words and their actions, they are rejecting you. They are saying, I want something or somebody else. And that is so extremely painful to be on the receiving end. Yet remember, that is their opinion. Perhaps their very flawed opinion. Don't allow their opinion to be your fact. After all, people have all sorts of opinions. That doesn't mean that they're all worth listening to, and it certainly doesn't mean that they necessarily have any merit whatsoever. And then also make sure that you're considering the source. Why in the world would you allow somebody of questionable character to determine your worth? The second question I want you to ask yourself is this: in an attempt to make them love me, in an attempt to make them stay, in an attempt to make them choose me, am I inadvertently rejecting myself? Sometimes we become so desperate, so panicked at the thought of losing them, that we do everything in our power to try to convince them to stay, to try to convince them that we are enough. And in doing so, we're changing ourselves and we're not holding true to our core values. And then we're just rejecting ourselves. And it's one thing to be rejected by somebody else. It's something entirely different to reject yourself, to lose yourself in pursuit of somebody else. If they don't want you, no matter how painful it is, let them go. Choose yourself. They are not worth it. Next, I want you to ask yourself, who are you really comparing yourself to? We look at the affair partner and we weigh their merits against ours. But that's not really what the comparison is, because that person is often a fantasy. That person is an escape, sometimes even an illusion. And it's impossible for us to compare to that. They represent excitement, perhaps escape, and we don't. So it's not that one thing is better than another. It's simply that they are different. Instead of asking yourself, why wasn't I enough for them? Ask yourself, what do they have to gain by painting me as not enough? There is often quite a bit of cognitive dissonance that goes on when somebody is cheating on their partner, because they see themselves as a good person, and well, good people don't cheat on their partners. And so they have to come up with a story, a reason for why they are cheating on you. And so what they often will tell themselves, and anybody who will listen, is that you are somehow not enough. that you are not present as a partner, that you are no longer a good spouse. And so that gives them the excuse that they need in order to do what they're doing. And that has nothing at all to do with you and everything to do with them trying to relieve their own discomfort. And then finally, I want you to ask yourself, what evidence do I have that I am enough? One of the things that I did when all of this happened to me is I gathered all of the notes and cards that I had received from friends, family, even students that told me how much I had helped them in some way or another. And I kept all of those close to me. And on those moments when I kept hearing my ex-husband's voice going through my head, telling me all of the ways that I wasn't lovable, I read those words from others that told me all of the ways that I was. And I bet that you have something similar. So I want you to find those ways. Find that evidence that you are enough and hold it tight. Because you are enough. You are lovable. I see this, and I want you to see it too.